Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lake Chapala Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'm Bob Kraft. I'm serving as today's late service associate. This afternoon, Frank Watson, Devorah Kelley, and Bob Koches will share their spiritual journeys as part of what we call a patchwork service. We're so glad that you're here, whether you come seeking connection, inspiration, or simply a moment of peace. May you find within this gathering a sense of belonging, and may your spirit be nourished by what you discover here. Our opening words this afternoon are by Tess Baumberger. Now, this is a call and response, so I would take just a minute to remind you that that's part of our African heritage, so it has to be done with enthusiasm. So I'm asking you, when I call to you with a loud voice, they're good Unitarian words to follow, remember to say these words: we travel this road together. From this busyness of every day, we gather once a week to remember who we are and to dream of who we might become. We travel this road together. I'm saying these words also in recollection of Jesse Jackson, who died only a couple of weeks ago. I watched the whole funeral. I don't know if anybody else did, but if you want to learn about call and response, that's a good way to do it. So as companions on this journey, we share the milestones we meet along the way. Individual moments of joy and sorrow become shared moments of comfort and celebration. We travel this road together. We share this journey across differences of belief and opinion because we value diversity and because we care for one another. We travel this road together. Today, as we take the next steps, let us notice our fellow travelers, the burdens that they carry, the songs that inspire their hearts. We travel this road together. As we gather in beloved community, let us open the holy havens of our hearts. Let us share the sacred places of our souls, for we are pilgrims who share a common path. We travel this road together. Can someone get this little puppy? It's driving one or two people nuts. Very exploratory. And maybe she's new. If you are new and would like to receive our newsletter and other emails, please talk to a member of the welcome team. You can also write us at LCUUF.org, LCUUF.org. So would members of the welcome team please stand up? And if you're new, take a good look at them. You can go and speak to any one of them after. And of course, whether you are new to our fellowship or you're longtime participants, know that you are all welcome and that we are glad that you are with us. So, as is our practice here at LCUUF, if there's anyone who's visiting us for the first time or who has been away and reconnected with us, we would love to know that. So don't be shy, please stand up. The microphone will be passed. So if you're willing, please raise your hand, and the mic will be brought to you. We ask that you speak your name into the mic, and we've been told that we are to hold the mic like a rock star, or you won't hear anything. Now, if you are on Zoom, please introduce yourself in the chat box, and that will be read aloud in the fellowship.
Mayo again, and I just want to give a shout out to Hyacinth, who brought me here today and demonstrates the hospitality of this fellowship.
Anybody else?
Guess not.
Come on. Okay, anybody on Zoom?
We have no one on Zoom today.
Okay. So welcome to all visitors, members, and friends. Here at LCUUF, each week offers something unique. Reflections from our minister, the Reverend Matt Alspaugh, as well as insights from members and guest speakers. We warmly invite you to return and journey with us through this ever-unfolding landscape of thought, spirit, and belief. It's time to light the chalice. That will be someone or me, I suppose. Our chalice lighting words today are by Kate Savani Gelfand. The reading is called "The End is the Beginning." We call forth the life of our faith by igniting our chalice. This spark of new beginnings invites us into a sacred space to reflect where we have been and where we are going. Even knowing that this particular flame will intentionally end with our ritual extinguishing, we fear not its end. For we know with brave hearts that from every ending of our lives, we are sent forth to make a new beginning. Now, having lit our chalice, let us sing these words together. Kindle this light in celebration for the life that we share. Also, each week, we come together to lament with, celebrate with, and care for one another in our community. We come to this service as whole people, not just Sunday versions of ourselves. Each week we take a few minutes to acknowledge and share what's real in our lives. There is power in the sharing as we hold each other in community. This is a time to briefly share a joy, a sorrow, or a milestone. A sentence or two is enough. We'll begin right here in the room. There is a microphone. And then we'll include those who have sneaked in on Zoom when we didn't know about it.
I had successful spine surgery on Tuesday. And so it's nice not to have that pain. I still have some aching, but I'm gone. The pain is gone. So that's very nice.
You know that water is life, but water's not a given in Riberas, right? We know that at any point they can turn it off and on. We spent the first week in our house with no water, and I thank my friends here, Phyllis and David, for letting me have a shower and do some laundry. But it came in on Friday night, so gracias Dios, we have water.
My name's Tim. A couple of folks that I'd like to put before you. A friend of mine, Ann, is recovering from a broken hip, and another friend, Shell's daughter, is in need of a new kidney. So if you can remember Ann and Shell, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
2 weeks ago, a very dear friend had breast surgery to cut out a cancer. Last Friday, she started with chemotherapy, and that makes me feel sick. Why? Because 26 years ago, my wife also had chemotherapy, had a totally miserable life during it, and lasted 4 months before she died. So the thing that crosses my mind is, of course, doctors only understand chemicals and pharmaceuticals to fight this thing. There's got to be a natural way. And if there's any woman in this congregation that has survived breast cancer naturally without using pharmaceuticals, I'd like to speak to her. Thanks.
So it seems we're having a mix of joys and sorrows, which is okay.
I have a joy. We just arrived to the area, and on Friday, after visiting 4 separate offices multiple times, we got our Jalisco license plates.
Well, I have sort of a concern and then a joy. Last night I attended a sound bath on the Ajijic Malecon. It was marvelous. It was wonderful. A young, very idealistic, or really an inspired young man led that, and from Mexico, and it just is such a great joy to see a springing forth of enlightened consciousness, I would say, in some of the youth here in Mexico. Well, anyway, at the conclusion, I went out to dinner and was headed home and searched for my keys, and they were gone. I had lost them at the sound bath. So this young man tracked me down, called me, sent me a picture of the keys, met me on the plaza, and we had a wonderful discussion about life. And the universe has a way of taking care of fools.
A few things on Zoom. Cynthia her joy is to be able to join us on Zoom, and she says thank you. And Mary Doane reports, my concern is the continued escalation of the war.
Is this on? I've got a sorrow to share. My sister-in-law, Sasha, who lived here at Lakeside for many years, just lost her daughter, Amanda, to suicide this past week.
So to sum up and to repeat, each week we come together to lament with, to celebrate one another in our community. Love is not only at the center of our UU values, it is also the opening that invites us to lament, celebrate, and care. As we briefly share our personal joys, sorrows, and milestones, there is power in the sharing as we hold each other in community. Okay, there is a second candle. This candle is offered by our care team, a special group among us here. We light it to honor the circle of community, those whose joys lift us, whose sorrows touch us, and the many tender stories that we hold in the silence of our hearts. As we know, the work of our fellowship within these walls and beyond takes our time, our treasure, and our talents. Our financial offerings today help sustain this congregation as a place where all voices can be heard, where truth can be spoken without fear, where vulnerability is met with compassion. We give in gratitude for this beloved community. And we hope for a world where more voices can be heard speaking their truth. So as we pass the baskets, if you're new here today, or if you're struggling to hold things together, I'm familiar with that, please let the basket pass you by. Your presence is more than enough and is a gift to us. You should know that each of the 6 charitable organizations here at Lakeside, twice a year, receive monies collected at our services. This month, we will be donating to Operation Feed. You should see something on the monitor about Operation Feed. With gratitude, we receive these gifts and dedicate them to the work of this congregation, our shared vision, and the values of our faith. Our opening hymn is "Here We Have Gathered." Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing. Now, stories. We Unitarian Universalists love to tell our journey stories and to hear each other's journey stories. Whereas other religions have newcomers stand up and confess their fallen ways or declare a commitment to one way only. We invite each other to talk about how our way is not like any others. It is a curious thing when you think about it. We welcome people to our fold not by asking them to commit to thinking exactly as the group does, but by having them declare how their journey is not like anybody else in the group. It's about a space, not similarity. We bind ourselves to each other, not by sharing the same journey, but by offering others, one another, to discover the unique journey that fits us. It's about making room for people to write their own stories, or maybe it's about making room for people to rewrite their own stories. Now, it's become popular in our society to talk about spiritual journeys as a process of living into your full or true self. And yet there's something deep within Unitarianism, Universalism, that resists that. Historically, we've been the people that struggle not so much to find ourselves, but to untangle ourselves from the religious identities we were given. Our spiritual journeys did not begin with a blank slate. They began with the hunger to wipe the slate clean and begin anew. Today, we're lucky to have 3 such journeys, taken first by Frank Watson, Dvorak Kelley, and Bob Koches.
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Watson. My talk is about how spirituality shaped my religious and philosophical beliefs. A few of you may remember that I stood up here last year and told you I was a 50-50 Anglican UU. Actually, it's more than that. My beliefs have evolved through believing in the power of one, meaning they are all centered in me, not an outside source. I got there by asking the question, what beliefs do I really have? Over the passage of time, I cherry-picked my beliefs from Anglicanism, a Wordsworth poem, personal life experiences, and as recently as last year, from UUism. So where did it start? Well, it was at school at the age of about 15, and we were studying English poetry. We read a poem by William Wordsworth titled Ode, Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood. What a mouthful. I did not have the foggiest idea what this poem was about, but fortunately the English master told us his interpretation. This introduced me to the idea that when a physical human is conceived, a companion spirit joins that human and they travel through life together. I found that a very interesting idea, and subliminally, it has followed me all my life. From the age of 13, I was at a boarding school in South Africa. It was a church school, high Anglican, but it really had no religious impact on me. The religiosity of it simply went over my head. I came to know the prayers off by heart, and looking back, I realized that I had become an Anglican boy robot without knowing it. During the 5 years that I was at that school, I heard all the Bible stories, sang all the Anglican hymns, but regardless of all that, my mind was elsewhere, fixated on chemistry, which really excited me. The only religious aspect that struck me was the beauty of Anglican church music. Our school had an excellent choir that sang Anglican church music in 4-part harmony. They sounded beautiful. I met my wife in 1965. We were married in a high Anglican church, despite her family being Salvation Army. From then on, we attended both the Anglican Church and the Salvation Army on an irregular basis. This provided Sunday school for our children and an introduction to Christian values. Sadly, my wife died in 2000. Fast forward to April 2022, and I'm living in Achachik. One day, I'm standing in my bedroom, and I suddenly had a moment of great clarity about my religious beliefs, and I wrote them down. When I reread them, I came to realize they were not really religious. They were a philosophical text centered around Christian religious concepts. In this manifesto, I explained my interpretation of subjects like God, Christ, the Holy Ghost, the Church, my spirit, sin, the Bible, prayer, communion, etc. It was a very liberating experience to suddenly find that I had a set of beliefs that I completely believed in. The key parts of this manifesto were that, first of all, I was both a physical and a spiritual being, and secondly, that I did not accept about 50% of the religious beliefs of Anglicanism. But I did not reject them, I just did not believe or embrace them. I just allowed them to wash over me. Then one day, the UU Fellowship turned up at St. Andrews, and I was very curious, so I attended a service and have linked up with Bob Koches' discussion groups, which I find very interesting and intellectually stimulating. I soon learned that in UU parlance, my place in the UU Fellowship world is that I'm a spiritual humanist. I think that's a fair description. I am definitely not a secular humanist. I really only belong to my own Church of One, whose beliefs are set out in my manifesto. Nevertheless, I attend services of both the Anglican Church and the UU Fellowship on a random basis and for specific reasons, which are generally as follows. The Anglican Church provides me with spiritual support. I enjoy the Anglican Church music, and I love to sing the hymns and anthems. Spiritually, I believe in the power of personal prayer to say thank you and to ask for help. I enjoy the celebration of religious events like Christmas. The UU Fellowship provides me with stimulating intellectual and social interaction, a form of service on Sundays that is never repetitive or boring. It is interesting and keeps my mind engaged, and a stated set of principles that I agree with. This has led me to the conclusion that it really doesn't matter what you personally believe, as long as you are totally honest with yourself. It is not necessary to reject tenets from an organized religion. Just select those that satisfy your own beliefs. Above all, remain open-minded. So that is what my beliefs based on the power of one are all about. What is my spiritual goal? To be at peace with myself and the world. And to be clear, here are my definitions of words that I've used in my talk. The power of one means individual empowerment. Spirituality means feeling the presence of a non-human alter ego. Spiritual humanism means recognizing the presence of a supreme spiritual power in human life. Secular humanism means humanism that is totally human-centered and has no spiritual power component. Thank you for your interest.
I'm going to do first is to give you a brief history of my church history growing up, and then I'll kind of come around to why I'm here. So I grew up my first 12 years of life, excuse me, in a tiny town in Massachusetts where there was a Catholic church, a Baptist church, and a Congregational church. And for whatever reason, my parents took us to the Congregational church. So I was christened there at age 9. I went to summer Bible school every summer. In fact, quick story, my dad, after Bible school one day, he said, "I'll buy you a milkshake if you can name all the books in the New Testament." I got my milkshake. So then when I was about 12, we moved to Florida, which is a whole nother story. The closest church, there was no Congregational church except for way down in South Miami, was a Lutheran church. So we became Lutheran. When you're Protestant, you can do that. You can switch around. So at the Lutheran church, we couldn't dance, but we had a wonderful summer camp. I was the Luther League president. We put on plays, and in Miami, in the winter, you can actually do an outdoor living nativity. We had a donkey. I was the angel Gabriel because I was the tallest one in the youth group. And my 2 sisters were the lesser angels, of course. But I happened to notice that the adults who would come to church in their finery on Sundays would gossip, would say bad things about people that they didn't think were up to snuff. And I thought, even as a teenager, I thought, that's not okay. That's really not okay. So then when I went to school in Tallahassee, my 2 of my roommates invited me to their Southern Baptist church. So I went, and for a while, I thought it was kind of cool. We sang Kumbaya. I was like, no, that's a camp song. They had a swimming pool at the front of the church. They did the total immersion baptisms there. And I was actually okay with all of that until in 1969, the church adults took a democratic vote. That was the language. They took a democratic vote to ban Negroes from their church. That was in 1969 in Tallahassee, Florida, in the Panhandle. That was my last time in church as a congregant until my daughter turned 4, and in the early 90s, and I decided she needed to have church. So in my town, we could go to the UCC church or the UUC church. I chose the UUC church, the Unitarian Universalist church, and I've never looked back. That was in 1994. Being a member of that particular congregation gave me something that I value to this day. Besides grounding in a faith tradition that I can totally get behind with the 7 principles and our 7 values and all of that. But I also was able to develop my leadership skills. Before that, I hadn't done anything except for Luther League. But I was the board president there. I was the membership chair, the RE chair. I taught RE, religious exploration, from the time my daughter was in kindergarten until she was out of high school. So I was the youth group. But the most important thing that fellowship, that church gave me was 3 months after I joined, somebody started a Cakes for the Queen of Heavens group. Has anyone here ever done the cakes class, cakes course? No? Whoa, okay. So it was a curriculum for women that was all about the goddess, the divine feminine. And I thought, wow, this is so cool. So I think it was Mondays, we met for about 3 months and went over the curriculum. And at the end of that time, 13 of us decided to keep going. We kept going for 6 years, every single Monday night for 6 years. What did we do? We did rituals. We sang. Boy, did we sing. We sang a lot. We did Wheel of the Year rituals, the equinoxes, the solstices, the cross quarters. We read books together, like The Woman with the Alabaster Jar. So basically, what I did is I threw the baby out with the bathwater. No God, no Jesus, no patriarchy. Total divine feminine. All my early beliefs about God and Jesus, gone. And I totally embraced the goddess. I participated in adult RE programs, and I mentored a coming-of-age student. I was totally committed to that fellowship, that church. Was it perfect? No, probably not. But it gave me what I needed, particularly when my kids were growing up. The next part, my spiritual journey would not be complete without sharing my spiritual home for many years. Even after moving here, I have been going to Ferry Beach Campground Conference Center on the coast of Maine for 35 years. I was a camper there with my family. I led 2 conferences, co-led 2 conferences, because there's a different conference every week. And I was the Grove Goddess. Somebody gave me that title, which meant I was the manager of the campground for 6 years, where we gathered every morning during the week, during the whole summer, for 15 minutes in the outdoor chapel. And it was a lovely way to start the day, 15 minutes of quiet, reflections, whatever. And there should be a slide. Okay, this is the outdoor chapel, and that is me in my very first pulpit as an ordained minister the summer after I was ordained. And if you can see it, on both the table and the pulpit, it says, God is love. Ferry Beach started as a Universalist conference center, and God is love is a Universalist saying. Okay, that brings us to now. I was coming here anyway in 2021, and then I found out from Pam, actually, who's not here today, that there's a UU church 4 miles from my house. Frosting on the cake. I was coming here anyway, and I found my tribe. You all are my tribe. And what I've done since coming back here, and actually a little bit before, is I've come back to center. So for me, there's room for a loving God, the God of love, not the guy up there with the big beard who smites everything. There's room for the goddess, and I love this image up here. It's actually joy, but for me, when I look at it, it's the mother goddess. And there's room for Jesus. During the starting point group that we just finished last month, we were invited to take a stone, and Bob will talk a little bit about this also, and put on it something that we carried forth from our early faith traditions, whatever that was. And I wrote Jesus. Because for me, it's the Jesus that's the spiritual teacher, and if we just paid attention to his teachings, we'd have a much better world right now. So basically, I cannot imagine my life without Unitarian Universalism, without all of you, with the friendships that I've made. And I've invited Kathy Vardy to read a poem, and I chose it because in a very real way, it sums up my spiritual journey. Kathy.
No? I think it's okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Good. Thank you. The poem is called Every Third Thursday by Joanna Fontaine Crawford. Every third Thursday, I'm a Buddhist. I empty my mind and lighten my heart and try to let go of attachments. Every other Friday, I'm a Christian. I look for the least of these and try to love God and my neighbor. The full moon of the month finds me Wiccan. I honor the dual nature of God and find my rhythm as a maiden, a mother, or a crone. On the 15th of the month, I'm a humanist. I respect science, integrity of fellow humans, and all that we have learned and we have made. Every fourth Wednesday, I'm a Hindu. I take a breath and understand that what is unfinished now will remain for me to continue in the next life. On alternate Fridays, I'm Jewish. May Adonai bless you and keep you, I tell my children, softly touching each head. And the Thursdays and the Mondays and the Saturdays and the Sundays and all the other days in between find me reading or listening or watching. Philosophers, Muslims, Mormons, Baha'i, and more fill my heart and touch my soul. And yet, the one thing that none of these provide to me is the certitude that they are the one. They lend me wisdom, sing to my heart, cause me to question, help me find answers, and make me more me. And at the end of the day, every day, I'm a Unitarian Universalist, in parcel and in pledge, and with all my heart and all my soul, all my mind and all my strength. I honor this faith, I hold it close, and it lets me run free.
My name is Bob Koches. This is a very different talk than the one I was going to give. It is because I went to a starting point session where they had me put 2 words on a stone reflecting our journey. The 2 words I chose were logic and love. I want to explore those 2 words in the context of my journey from Catholicism to humanism. So, how did that introverted, insecure, only child transform into the person I am now? It's a long story, but here are some of the few Cliff Notes versions of my spiritual journey. I was born Catholic, went to Catholic schools from grade school through university. When I was in high school at Pius X, I took a class in my senior year called In Apologia, or In Defense of the Faith, taught by a young priest called Father Parnassus. He stated that Catholicism could be and should be defended by logic. If not, it is false. My deceased wife, Kathy, asked me, after going to Notre Dame, why I was not still Catholic. My answer was, they taught me to think. One of the best definitions of God I ever heard was from Paul Tillich, a German theologian. He said, and I paraphrase, that which you cannot explain, the wonder, the magic, and the mystery in the world, people call God, until some of these wonders, magic, and mysteries can be explained through science. In other words, the mystery and wonder in the universe is something we have not explained yet. Now, let me be clear. There is no proof for the existence of God, nor is there any proof of the non-existence of God. I took the leap of faith based on science and logic to believe God does not exist. Based on this premise, the logic of Catholicism falls apart. Logic is a wonderful tool, but I learned quickly logic alone is a cold house to live in. While I was at Notre Dame, I read James Joyce's Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man. This was an epiphany for me. As the protagonist, Stephen Dedalus, undergoes a humanistic transformation, evolving from a child bound by religious dogma to an adult who finds the ultimate meaning of life in the secular pursuit of love and beauty. This showed me that if logic is the how of my life, love is the why. In our UU tradition, we have recently moved toward putting love in the center of our values: interdependence, equity, justice, plurality, generosity, transformation, and gratitude. To me, this isn't just church talk. It is the practical application of humanism. Love is the fierce commitment to the inherent value of worth and dignity of every person. It is the recognition that because this life is likely the only one we have, it is infinitely precious. My search for love has been a search for how to be the most useful to the world while I am here. I have often written that we must live willfully and fully. For me, that means choosing to act out of compassion rather than fear of punishment or hope for a post-mortem reward. When I look back at my 84 years, I see that the moments of greatest spiritual death weren't found in a prayer book. They were found in the struggle of social justice, in the quiet support of a friend, and the interdependent web of this community. I learned that we are the architects of our own meaning. This evolved from the practice of meditation that started in my early 30s, where I learned to hold a center in a swirling world of chaos, trying every day to be in the moment. So here I am, Catholic educated, but humanist involved. My search for love and logic hasn't ended. It simply became more refined. I've learned that you don't need a God to have a soul, and you don't need a heaven to have a purpose. You just need a curious mind and a compassionate heart. As I continue this journey, I invite you to join me in that search. Let us use our reason to understand the world, but let us use our love to heal it. Because in the end, we are all we have, and thankfully, if we lead with both logic and love, that is more than enough.
We're going to be out of order. We're going to do this and then the closing hymn. So, Michael, if you can get to the reading, please.
The Journey by Mary Oliver. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, through the whole house began to tremble, though the whole house began to tremble, and you felt the old tug at your ankles.
Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible, it was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones.
But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing that you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save. And now if you'll rise in body or spirit and join us in the hymn that should have been before this, the words will be on the monitor. And Michael, you don't have to go back because we're not using that.
Something here to wish we
someone to extinguish the flame? That would be you. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts and share with all the world. Our worship is over. Our service begins. Go in peace and with a purpose. But before we leave, let's listen to the postlude played by Mary. By showing up at the very, very last minute.